So my recruitment process was slightly different than those that you might have heard of before. Certainly unique, seeing that I am a international student from Jamaica, planning to study abroad in the United States. I really had little intentions of actually doing this, even though I had been to pen release approximately around 5 times. No, sorry, 4 times. Been to the pen release 3 to 4 times. And I really enjoyed the experience that I had at pen release, where we did really well one year. I think we came fourth in the small school championship 4x100 meter event. So, it was a great experience and I loved the atmosphere. I loved New Jersey and the vibe there, the people, the mixture of Jamaicans and Americans competing against each other. It was a great experience and something that, I will always cherish. So even though I really, found it really interesting and exciting, for some reason, I just never really took it seriously, the opportunity or the chance to actually study in the United States as well as compete in track and field. So the way that I really started to think about it was I had a lot of hamstring issues when I was in high school, and I didn't think that Jamaica would have the equipment or the resources needed in order for me to get over that injury. And as a result, I started to look elsewhere, started to look towards the United States. This was at a very late time in my life. It was around my senior year when it was crunch time, and it's not the best time to start looking for colleges because you're almost about to graduate, and coaches typically will already have an idea of the athletes that they're bringing in and their budget. So that's also another reason why in the previous video I advocated that you start the recruitment process early, because coaches want to be able to dispense the funds that they have, and they will typically dispense most, if not all, of their funds by your senior year. They already know the athletes that they want to have on their program. People have probably already signed national letters of intent, planning to be at the school and run at the school. So it's very important that you start early. So I didn't start early, and it was a very arduous process. I remember Florida State University coming to Jamaica, and I had a meeting with them at a hotel. I can't remember what hotel it was, but it was a meeting with a lot of Jamaican athletes who had desires of studying abroad and running track and field. So, that was basically my introduction into looking into American universities, trying to talk to American coaches, and so forth. However, I realized that at the time to get into Florida State, you would really have to be running, at least a 10:30 in the 100 meters or a 20.8 in the 200. And at the time, I was at 10:5. So, it would be bit of a stretch, and I needed a full ride scholarship because my parents aren't wealthy. So the only way that I could, be in the country would be on a full ride scholarship. I could not, I would not even be able to really pay for even 20% of the tuition. As you guys know, that in America, tuition is very expensive. So I needed a full ride scholarship. I knew I wasn't going to get one from Florida State, so I had to make a decision to contact coaches. Now, usually international students find organizations or they find coaches that they work with that have connections with schools abroad. I, however, decided to do things a bit differently. And this is something that I would encourage people to look at. This is a technique that, you could do. It would take a lot of time, but I do believe that, you could get it done. So what I did was I made a list of around 150 schools to start, and I just emailed every single one of the schools. All of them. There's the sprint coaches at the universities, because I was like, I must get at least 10% response rate, right? So I was really gunning, because I was like, yes, I need to get into the country. This country has a lot of great resources, so it's a good idea for me to get into the country. So that's what I did, and I got a lot of responses. I sent an email. It was a very concise email. It had my SAT score, it had my GPA, and it also had my times accompanied with video. So I had one video of the 100-meter event and one video of the 200-meter event. So I think that's how you really should construct an email. If you want to send an email to a coach, make sure that it's very short and concise and it gets to the point. So you give your time, you have a brief introduction, of course, but you show your time, show the events that, with the time, you have a video, then you go into your academics to show that you're good academically as well. So those were the steps that I took in order to, get myself out there to these coaches. Now, obviously, the problem with me was that I started too late. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, would you be willing to wait another year to, get admitted into our school because our scholarship money is out?" And it was it wasn't the kind of response that I was hoping for, but it was something that I understood because I knew that I had waited too long to do this. So I just kept grinding and grinding, talking to as many coaches as I could. And then I finally got one coach who was like, "Yeah, let's take you on a official visit." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I went on that official visit, and that was to the University of Missouri. Um, and I am the video is showing the University of Missouri campus. So I took them up on the offer. I went to the University of Missouri on an official visit, and it was a great experience. I stayed at the hotel. I got to watch a football event. We played against the University of Arkansas, and we actually beat them. I think it was Thanksgiving 2014. So that was a very great experience because, of course, everybody was hyped and everybody was happy because of the victory. So, I was immediately sold. I liked the people, I liked the coach, I liked my team, my future teammates. So I really didn't have any problem and I signed right away. Now, unfortunately, I had to actually sit out a year in school because of, the documents not being handed over in time and logistical issues and so forth. So I still ended up having to wait a year before I could get enrolled into the program. But it was my fault. It was my fault. There's nothing I could do about that. So I waited a year and then I started school as a Mizzou Tiger, and it was a great experience. I believe that, if I had started the process earlier, I could have gone on more visits, had more fun with the entire process. Probably could have been in, like states like Washington or Oregon or Florida. I could have made much more use of this process, but it is what it is. Things happen for a reason. They always happen for a reason. And so, we just have to take things step by step and, look towards the future, never look back in the past, but, look towards the future and move forward. So, If it is that you are a senior and time is of the essence, then I would suggest that you, even, today, you try to get those emails out to coaches. I think that's the most effective way at this point. There have been many people who say that you have to specialize your email to coaches. I did not do that at all because you can't really specialize an email to 150 coaches. That doesn't make any sense. And if you're a good athlete, then they will look at your email. I think at the end of the day, they care about your times and they care about your grades. Well, they specifically care about your times. If you have an average grade, then that's okay. But they care about your times. This is unfortunately, that's how the world is. No one is going to give you a scholarship because you're a nice individual. So I don't believe in necessarily that approach about specialization. I think you just have to send a mass amount of emails and be cognizant as well, as to what your times are and what the school may require. Because if you're a 10-7 athlete, for example, you can't realistically expect to get a response from a Texas A&M or a University of Florida because the gap is just too much. They probably would not, give you any scholarship money. So, you also have to be measured in the way that you go about these things because you don't want to get too upset and you don't want to waste unnecessary time, writing to schools that will never give you a response. So, that was my experience, and, I would love to hear your experiences too. And if you have any more questions, put it down in the comments below. If you like this video, please like and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys.